Tales of the Ancient, with Mark.
Hey everyone, Mark Terrence here, and this is Tales of the Ancient with Mark. Today is going to be a very, very touchy topic, a topic that many people would rather not talk about, but because I recently had a conversation with my friends, we had a live stream on TikTok where we had this conversation, and it was something I thought, yeah, let me just share this on my page. Since I talk about mythology and I talk about the ancient world, let's go into this. Now, the question is, does God really exist, or is there actually a God out there? And if Christianity is actually what Christianity preach, it is. One of the things that one of my friends said during the whole course of the conversation, or friendly argument, was that when I tackle something about Christianity to a Christian, what they do tend to bring out, or what they do tend to fight with the argument with, is quoting a passage in the Bible. And they went on further to say the Bible was something written by humans, and something you normally see in an argument between an atheist and a Christian. Honestly, first thing I'll say in this video is that you can totally be whatever it is that you want to be. It's not me. I'm not in a position to tell you, oh, this is wrong. What you're doing is wrong. I believe everyone at some point in time would encounter the divine. It's just my own belief. Everyone at some point in time would have an encounter with the divine. Now, if you choose to ignore your encounter with the divine, that's totally up to you. It's not mine to tell you how. Mine is just I'm just going to try my possible best to talk about this from a point that is not biased, if I can say so. Now, let's start by saying I would answer, because one of the questions that kind of like stood out to me in the whole thing was, do I believe everything in the Bible is 100%? Now, this is going to be weird, because you guys see me as someone who talks about mythology all the time. I talk about mythology from beginning to the end. Like, I can talk about Norse mythology, I can talk about Yoruba mythology, I can talk about Igbo cosmology, I can talk about gods that even people are like, oh my god, is this guy really real? I talk about all these things, and I talk about demons as well. In fact, there was a time I talked about demons and I started having weird dreams, and I was like, well, that wraps it. I'm not talking about demons ever again. That was the time I was doing a video on Lilith and her sisters. That's Lilith and the four sisters, and the three sisters, Niemet, Ash. Guys, I can't remember exactly the names right now, but I have the videos on all my platforms. In case you want to check it out, I have a video. I have the video posted on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. In case you want to learn about the four sisters of the four sisters. I can't remember what their full name is called, but yeah, they are Lilith and three sisters. So yeah, do I believe everything in the Bible is 100%? Now, what I would start with is, how did the Bible come to be? How was the Bible combined? How was the Bible accumulated? The accumulation of everything in the Bible was not actually one book. The Bible is not one book, as people just feel like, oh, it's one book that holds the record of everything. No, no, it was records taken by different people, even people that didn't live on the same timeline. So this was like records of, let me use something layman term now, layman term, or something that will be more understanding. If I were to write something about my experience in today, oh, there was a time there was COVID. These were things I wrote in my book. There was a time that there was COVID in Nigeria. There was a time there was COVID all around the world. There was a time there was a rain that flooded the US or Brazil, and this and that. There was a time there was an earthquake in Russia and stuff like that. I wrote about this in my own words. Someone else at, let's say, someone who doesn't know me, who lives probably somewhere in New Zealand, we've never met before, I don't know the person. The person wrote something similar about his own experience about what is happening today. Now, you would agree with me that there will be some concurrent statements, some things I will say that would be in what the person is saying about the worldview, but from different perspective. Now, this is for people that were on the same timeline. Now, there are people who came after us. Let's say after my generation, 100 years after, someone wrote a book also about what he learned that happened in the past. Now, the person would also have some events that have what I have talked about in their book, but may not be the same way, maybe from a different worldview, different perspective entirely, because the world then will not be exactly as it is now. So they will have a different point of view to how things are happening, or how things might have happened. That is that. Then imagine someone had already written things 50 years 500 years ago about the same thing. Now the person might have written this thing as oh, I had a dream, this is what is going to happen, then I wrote about it, this is what happened. Then someone later wrote about it, oh, this was what happened. Now later on, let's say 300 years later, someone came and combined our books, things we wrote and things we wrote, and combined it into something that shows a record of how everything was, how everything is, and how everything would be or should be according to how these people have written their experience. That is how the Bible was. Now, the difference between what I've explained and what the Bible actually is that these particular people were led by the Spirit to write what it is that they were experiencing and what it is that they wrote. Because some of them wrote things that they didn't even experience. Like some of them wrote some things that were being preached to them, or were being directed to them by the Spirit. This is exactly how, now, do I believe it was concurrent? Do I believe it's the Bible is 100% true? I went into the story of Noah and the ark, where God cleansed the earth, and I explained to them that there is something that has happened in every major mythology that you can think of. You'll find it in Greek, you'll find it in Norse, you'll find it in ancient Mesopotamian texts, you find it in old Egyptian law, old Egyptian mythology, you find it in major mythologies. There happens to be one flood at one point in time. There happens to be one massive flood at one point in time. Now, this is the same thing that occurs in the Bible also. You happen to see one particular flood in the same. Now, I can't say that this was the same. I can't say that this was the same thing they were all talking about, but there is a proof that there was something mighty that that happened at that particular point in time to show that there was a great natural disaster that happened. Now, why did the flood happen? I went into the explanation of how the watchers who were sent to earth to watch over the children of God, the God's creation, we humans, the daughters of Eve, the sons of Adam, these angels were sent to watch over them. This was after the whole battle in heaven had happened. They have sent some people to hell. Some angels have left. The third of heaven has left heaven to follow the devil into their endless pit, and there were watchers that were sent to come and watch over the creation of God on earth. But some of these watchers actually started copulating with the daughters of Eve, which led to the creation of Nephilims. Now, if you don't know what Nephilims are, I've made videos on them. You can search on YouTube, on any source, what Nephilims are. Now, I told them about Nephilims, how strong and how tall and how giant Nephilims were. Now, the children that were being born by Nephilims went on further to start creating what they call the Neanderthals. This was all during this timeline. Now, God looked and said, oh, they are tainting his perfect creation. They are tainting his wonderful creation. Now, they were moving on from being the image and likeness of God, how God created them, how they were supposed to be, and they were starting to be something else. Then God said he needs to flush this reality, or this. However, now this is not going to be something you'll find 100% written in the Bible. There are some books that you will find to accompany this, like the book of Enoch was separated from the Bible for some reason, for some good reasons also. It's a bit should I say too dark to be in the normal Bible, if I may say so myself. Now, the book of Enoch would explain this a lot better, because the book of Enoch is where you find the writings about the watchers and some high class angels. Now, God said he needed to cleanse the earth and rearrange this particular system of how things were. That was what led to the flood, and he gave everybody an opportunity to be saved. Everyone who wanted to be saved. It's just like how things are now. You'll find people preaching to you, give your life to Christ. That is an opportunity God is giving you. You have the opportunity to be saved. Now, if you choose not to be saved, it's totally up to you. It's completely up to you. Now, that was exactly what has happened during the time of Noah also. He gave them an opportunity to be saved. Noah spread the word and whatever, and gave them the timeline of when the rain is going to start and what is going to happen when the rain starts, and blah 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 blah. And also instructed Noah to take all the animals in pairs and keep them just to preserve life. Now, let me tell you something funny or something amazing that happened. The father of evolution, Charles Darwin, stated something. He was like, at some point he noticed how evolution has taken place, how everything was in the particular position that they were, how dogs were unique to different geolocations, how you can only find lions in some particular places, you can't find them in some particular places, how you can only find pandas in some particular places and you cannot find them in some particular places, how animals had to be separated in different regions. And he was like, all these show that they all came from a particular place. Like in his whole explanation, he was like, there's evidence that everything came from a single source, but then everything is so diverse and they all had to adapt to the environment they were in, and this could have only taken one major natural disaster, one major catastrophic disaster to make this happen, which would have moved them from each place where they were to the place where you can find them right now. Now, I would say this, that a lot of scholars did not agree with him because he didn't have the knowledge of geography and stuff like that. And anything that has to prove anything that has to do with religion, scholars are going to be against it. You guys can attest to this 100%. But then, if the father of biology, the father of evolution, as we know him in our time today, said these things, it only proves to point out to the fact that there is reality in what he's saying. There's reality in things that were recorded in the Bible. And amongst the fact that a lot of other people wrote about this particular thing across different traditions that didn't even know each other, there is proof. That is a proof that things in the Bible are real. They are occurrences that actually happen. Now, there are some things that you'll be like, wait, this sounds far-fetched. Like when Moses went to free the people in Egypt, and they said the full river, or the full lake, or the full river in Egypt, then river now turned to blood. Now, if you go into the Egyptian mythology or the Egyptian law, you would find something similar. When the daughter when the creations in ancient Egypt were misbehaving, and Sekhmet was sent to come and fight for Osiris, either Osiris or Horus. Guys, just pardon me. Sekhmet was sent. Now, in this story, you will find that they said the river was turned into a drink. It also reiterating the idea that the river changed into blood. Now, people said that now the story was that the river turned into a drink, and Sekhmet drank it to her fill and became drunk, and that was how the god that sent her was able to bring her soul back to himself, because she became bloodlusted. She was, killing people at will, and a long story like that. But then there's also an evidence in ancient Egyptian law that states something similar. So it proves to you that this is actually something that might have happened. 100% story. The timeline may not be the same, but then they all talk about the same similar thing. Now, I know I've said many things, but then my whole opinion is still that the Bible is accurate. Now, I'm trying not to use the verses in the Bible to argue things about Christianity, and trying to use the point of view from the outside world. The outside world, that is the words that you guys might accept, to explain to you how real the Bible actually is. Now they went further to say, if God is all merciful, why would he during the same time, why would he unalive the first child of every born home? And I said that whole scenario was to free the people of Egypt. And I said, if you had one opportunity, you had the opportunity to save and preserve the lives of half of the entire world today. That's 3.6 billion people. But 3.6 billion people have to die. What would you do? You have the opportunity right now to say, okay, 3.6 billion, there's something that's going to happen, there's going to be a major catastrophe that's going to happen, and blah, 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 blah. And you have the opportunity to save 3.6 billion people in the world. But the other 3.6 billion people have to be unalived. What would be your decision? What would you do? I really want to know where your morality stands and where your mindset stands on this. Would you go on to say, okay, since it's going to be for the greater good, let me go away with this other 3.6 billion? Or would you, close your eyes and say, man, I think we're just going to have to face whatever comes, however it comes. Now, mind you, whatever option you choose is going to sound radical to anybody who is looking at you from the outside without knowing what was at stake. Now, my point was basically to explain that we don't know what is at stake. You can't possibly seem to believe that you know what is at stake. Nobody is there on the same level with God. You don't know what he sees. You don't know what he knows. You don't know what it is that is happening outside the realm to explain what is happening. What we know is minuscule to what if there was an alien, if there are aliens, what they would know would be far more than what we know, because what we know is just confined to the reality of what we are now. There are things that we've been discovering and we'll be like, oh my God, how is that even possible? An ocean under an ocean. Like, you guys don't even imagine. There have been oceans that have been discovered millions of light years from where we are right now. Ocean swimming in space, and some people will be like, space is not real. So there are so much variables that our mind have created as human beings, because all these are human concepts. The whole concept of fairness, the whole concept of being kind, of the whole concept, these are human concepts. Now, you can't use the same human concept to judge who God should be at a particular time, because our mind is corrupt. Our mind undergoes corruption every single day. It undergoes corruption. It might be bit by bit, it might be in large quantities, but I can assure you, every single day that you step out of your house, you pick up your phone, you look into something, your mind is being corrupted by someone, something, a picture, anything at all that you see. Your mind is being corrupted every single day. So you can't use this particular scenario to try to say, oh, this is what God should be like. This is what it doesn't exactly work that way. Now, my whole point is, when you look at God's other creation, you'll find that this concept of fairness does not exactly exist, because it's a human concept. That is what I was trying to explain. It's a human concept. If a chicken lays...
Tales of the Ancient with Mark.